Kia ora, welcome to Vistas. I've got a new toy, come and have a look. So it arrived in a nice sturdy box, twin-walled cardboard and well packed. And the English instructions look easy enough, so let's have a crack. So let's start by ripping all this stuff out and seeing what I've got here. So what's in the box? The magnetic top plate, which flexes to get the prints off, mount for the filament. Actually ordered filament, came in a separate package, and it's vacuum packed. Power cord. It's got the right plug, that's nice. Power supply. Now these things, any power supply or anything with changeable voltage, which this has, will probably be shipped at 230. I need it at 230, so I'll leave it there. I guess that's because if you plug it into 110 or 115 and it's set to 230, it's just not going to work. But if you plug it into 230 and it's set to 115, it's going to break. XT60 plug. I've bought some of these from AliExpress. They look pretty cool. Box of goodies. Right, so I've got screws. Looks like all the tools I will need. And there's a bit of test filament in there, USB cable, a little scraper. Also in here is a little USB stick, 8 gig micro SD card. Now I've got the base unit. So this is the bit that goes backwards and forwards while the print head stays, or travels in this direction. Now it feels good, it's not loose in any way, it feels pretty solid, it's nice and smooth, but it does have some little, feels like little flat spots on the wheels. Now these are just rubber wheels, so that should settle when I try to turn them. Oh, it feels maybe a little bit tight. I can turn that one. I might just give it a quick tweak just to loosen up that one a touch. So you can, if you want, adjust the tension of these wheels. I think they're just a touch tight, and I think they could be a little more free. Obviously you don't want them loose, otherwise the thing could twist while it's working. Now to adjust them is probably quite easy. This side is not adjustable. I don't know if you can see the axle in the middle of the frame, but this side is adjustable. What it has is, right in the middle of the frame, it has a hex shaped axle, and that's kind of set on a cam. Let's see if we can see it better. Okay, we can see it better from this side now. In fact, you can even see this cam here in the center of the frame is slightly off center to the nut above it. Now that's the adjustment right there. So to adjust it, we take one of these spanners that they've supplied and simply turn it a little wee bit. Now I don't know if that's getting tighter or looser. It might be tighter. And what I'm trying to achieve, right or wrong, is to get it so that I can turn it, but it doesn't slide at all, it rolls. And that feels good to me. While I'm under here, I'll have a quick look at the rest of the frame. Obviously he's got these little rubber feet, they're pretty straightforward bits of rubber stuck on. Nicely drilled and counterbored holes for my bolts to go through. Now it's all driven by this little servo motor and a little toothed belt, which feels, doesn't feel too bad. I probably need to keep an eye on that because it's bound to stretch after a wee bit of use. It's adjustable at this end by loosening off these two and these two opposite bolts. They're into like a T-nut, and then pulling the hole, just pulling the end out tight to keep tension on the belt, and remembering to keep it even left and right so that you don't twist this and have the belt trying to climb out of its wheel. Back at this end there's a little sensor just to tell it that it has reached the edge of its range. Pretty simple. Alright, let's chuck this frame on. Now it came in the box attached to this bit. I don't know why. Could have been unplugged. I'll leave it attached though. I need 2 on either side, a total of 4 bolts to go through this base and up into the ends of here. So that will no doubt be the M5s. 4 of them. Spring washer, perfect. The whole thing is going to rely on the bases of these being square for it to be square, so I hope they're square. They look good anyway, and they've got 2 threaded holes for my bolts to go in. Right, let's see how we get on. Don't forget your washers on your bolts. Alright, starting to look seriously like a printer now. This bit must go here. These are horrible little things. I've got to get it into the groove like that, then turn it sideways so that it locks in behind it. It doesn't matter which way around these go, I'm going blue to the front. It's just a switch, but just note that these little plastic covers can make these plugs difficult to get fully on. They're a bit of a pain really, I don't like the plug as such. I like to push the cover right back off, then I can be sure that I'm getting the plug all the way on, and then I can push the cover back up. Motor control plug looks pretty straightforward, pretty hard to get that wrong. So another motor control, this time the Y-axis, which of course is at the back, and micro switch wires. So it's just bolts to the side. Now looking closely at this cabling, this should in fact go over the top, not underneath, because that way it slides back nicely out of the way. So that's the heated bed cabling and related temperature cable coming now over the top of this beam. This one, however, needs to go under, and it will connect to the power supply, just like this. Nice. Now, that's out of the way when this comes backwards and forwards. Well, there we go. 1Mega02 fully assembled. Okay, plugged into the juice, let's turn it on. Noises. Fan there from the power unit. And, well, it's on. It says, ready. It's telling me the temperature of both the print head and the base. Yeah, okay. Info screen, that's where I was. Prepare. Home on. Okay, so this unit has gone back and measured exactly where that switch triggers. So has the base, and now this is coming down and doing the same thing on the Z-axis. A bit slower. So yeah, it came down, triggered the switch, lifted back up, and then slowly came back down to measure exactly where that switch switches. Alright, let's level the corners. What I'm looking for here is just a little bit of tension as I try to pull the paper through. I can feel it kind of dragging. You can see the paper just starting to bend as I push it. I'm going to do that on all four corners. So continue to adjust each corner, checking, because of course turning one of these knobs will affect the others. That one's now touch tight. That's good. That's nice now. Okay, so you can probably hear all these fans going. There's one in the power supply. There's one cooling the print head, and there's another little one that cools down the print as it's working. So there's a bit of racket going on all the time. Now I'm going to raise up this print head a bit. And feed the filament in. I'm guessing, there we go, preheat. In the meantime, I have simply chucked their sample filament on, and it's going to go in this little hole here, I guess. So I'm simply going to feed this till it's kind of about halfway in. Then see, hopefully, if I can get it to draw it in itself. Move axes, extruder, 10 mils. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Let's put that in. Ooh, look at that. Obviously had a bit of white in it from manufacture or testing, and now it's coming out nice and brown. Okay. So this little SD card must go in here. And then refresh. Yep, there's an hour. So, what to do now? It's heating the bed. Set at 26 degrees. Right, we're away. So, it's reached 60 degrees. It knows to start printing now. So I don't know what it's doing. It's mucking around, sitting down, and it's going to print something. Oh, look at that. Okay, well, you're probably already bored. Let's come back a bit early. So it's cranking away. I'm going to let it go, maybe come back and have a look at it in half an hour. Pretty easy though, assembled out of the box and running. What I have done is I've just stuck this box on the end of here to stop my little sample cable falling off. It seems to be curling around the front here, but it doesn't seem to bother it. So let's come back in a little while. That's good, yeah. We have toes. It's going to be an hour. And it's going to be a long time because we're 21 minutes in and 13% complete. Now whenever I'm 3D printing, I like to drink Behemoth juice banner because you wouldn't like me when I'm not hoppy. Corny, I know. I have no affiliation with Behemoth, but if you guys are listening to me at Behemoth, this is great beer, please send me some and I will wave it around in front of the camera for you. Or just drink it. And we have an hour. So it worked, which is good. Quality, I don't know how well you can see. The quality looks pretty good. There's a little wee bit of stringiness across the top there. It's probably quite easy to remove. And I notice a couple of little dags. There's one right under my nail there. Just hanging off where it's been trying to build up overhang and drip down a little bit. I guess you have to cut this little base off. It's quite thin. Actually might just break off, but well, that's just a test thing straight out of the box. So pretty damn cool. So my first thoughts are, this thing is awesome. It is a seriously cool toy considering it's pretty cheap. I mean, a little over a couple $100 New Zealand dollars delivered. Just brilliant. As far as assembly goes, if you really want to know how it all goes together, then there are probably more detailed videos than what I've done, but it came with 10 bolts to install, so this is not a difficult thing. I mean, you can definitely, I have a tendency to do that sort of stuff without the manual just because I like the learning experience, and from that perspective it was pretty boring. It was very straightforward. So it arrives mostly assembled and you are printing right out of the box. The next bit, of course, is a little more difficult. You've got to find something that you actually want to print. I did. I printed it's a beer cooler. It relies on an air gap in between these grooves to keep your beer cool. It's got these little struts at the bottom, little raised up bits. It weighs next to nothing. It's nice and thin. Those neoprene beer coolers tend to be kind of chunky, and this one is custom made to fit a Steinlager bottle. Just because I had to do something. I also, after printing the owl, the classic owl, I made a coin trapped in a box for entertainment purposes. And yeah, it works. So then overnight I printed, I don't know if you can see it, I printed this. Now this is, let's see if it comes off. So the base is magnetic and it kind of sticks to the heated platform. And the reason, the logic is that you can bend the base because it's flexible, which should make getting these off really easy. And so far it has. So far it's made it pretty easy to get these things off because they are reasonably well stuck. That's my lid. And this here, now what I did was I went online and I looked for a box, but it had to be customizable. So this is actually meant to be a fully enclosed box and had customizable holes which I've used to make it kind of skeletal. Now what that is for this battery box, battery mount. Now hopefully, this better work. Look at that. Look at that. Now the concept here is that this has got little bits inside here for the circuit board to sit on. They're meant to clear the screws, which they do. And then I've got a top which should go on. Look at that, fits pretty good. It's got little screw holes, little wee screw holes. It's got an edge on the inside. So this is pretty much a standard off-the-shelf box. Now what I just want it to protect the electrical bits whilst still having plenty of air flow around the battery, and it's mainly because these posts are live, and which means these nuts are live. So if I put this down and that nut touches that nut, I've got 15 volts and up to 30 amps before the fuses blow. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So look, I'm really new to this whole 3D printing thing. Ironically, I used to use 3D CAD software for my job, and when I open the free stuff now I go, oh my god, how does this work? So my skills are a bit limited, but I'm kind of keen to make stuff for things that you just can't buy. There's no point. My wife wants me to make a coat hook or something like that, and realistically you can buy them anywhere, everywhere. But unless you wanted a special coat hook, something that was, you know, like a finger sticking up that you put your coat on or something like that. Or in this case I want to build a little housing for this. It's a, what do? They do that, don't they? This is a USB-C thing. I haven't actually played with it. I should wire it up and test it. So I need something to mount it in. So I'll need something a little along the lines of this, where it will sit on the edges of the board and it won't put any stress on those terminals that are sticking down. I'll want a nice little hole that I can plug into, and obviously a hole at the other end so I can run my wires into it. So this will theoretically run on 24 volts and charge a USB-C laptop or phone or anything like that. Should be smart enough to cope with a laptop that wants 20 volts, a phone that wants like 9.5 volts or something, or something weaker that wants 5. So my next project is to find a box that can sit in nicely. Now this here was actually a box about 50 by 30, and I just expanded it up to make it bigger. The walls look solid, but they're not. They're actually kind of hollow, not fully hollow. They've got like this crisscrossy pattern going on inside them, a little bit like corrugated cardboard. Whereas the base, I think, is actually solid in the top. So this thing, it's reasonably easy to get these bits off. It prints, I should get into the slicer, it prints a little edge right around It doesn't do anything, it's just maybe like a practice run, I guess. You can kind of see little wee bits of damage on the back here from where I've pulled things off. You can still see the ring from my beer cooler, but generally it works pretty good. When I'm working towards the outsides of the plate, it gets a little wee bit sketchy, and you just put it back on. I line up the back edge. It's kind of got magnetic ribs, and then I just push it through just to make sure it doesn't, I haven't put it too far to one side or the other, and it clears both sides of the frame here. And we're good to go for another print. One of the first things I made was this bolt capture unit for Jontech battery monitor. One of the things that bugged me, and it bugs me every time I fiddle with it, is that the bolts are not captured in the unit, so they kind of, well, it's hard to explain, but they spin around. If you have a look at my Jontech videos, you'll understand. And Trudge commented on one of my videos and said, hey, I've made this on a 3D printer. So downloaded his design, printed it out. Awesome. So thank you very much, Trudge. That was one of the things that made me kind of excited to get this toy. So all in all, it's gone well. I haven't had any trouble with it so far. I bought it with one roll of filament, and I can see myself buying a whole ton of that stuff. It's just runs smooth. It does a lot. It's flat out. It's got a whole bunch of little motors just zooming backwards and forwards the whole time, so I expect things will start to wear out. But great value for money. Anyway, that's all I've got for you right now. Maybe we'll get back into doing some bussy kind of stuff soon. In the meantime, I'm going to have this sitting on my desk while I'm working from home, probably buzzing away. It's quite noisy. It's got 3 different fans. The power unit's got a fan that makes a fair bit of noise, and it's got 2 fans, one cooling the print head and one cooling the actual print as it prints. And of course you've got little servo motors just going flat out the whole time, so it does make a fair bit of racket. It's not the sort of thing that you'd want in your bedroom, but yeah, if you've got a little office, or maybe down in the garage, it can just sit there all night making stuff for you. So I'm not surprised. I am, however, impressed. Just every bit as impressed as I thought I might be. And I kind of regret not getting one earlier, although it's taken a while for them to become really cheap. They were quite expensive when I started looking at them, and now they're just so reasonable that it's ridiculous not to have one. Especially when I think about the number of things that I've thought, oh man, if I just had one of those. Odd thing is, right now, can't think of anything at all I want to print on it. But I will. So hey, thanks for watching. Look, if you've got any questions at all about it, please mention them in the comments. So I actually ordered it less than 3 weeks ago, and in that time I've had it delivered from China to New Zealand and to my rural address in the middle of lockdown level 4, so that's pretty bloody cool. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe and hit all the buttons. But if you've got any questions, let me know down in the comments, and I will do my best to let you know how things went. Alright, take care, mā te wā.